The Senate Judiciary Committee is expected to vote today on a Supreme Court Code of Ethics. The measure is based on codes of conduct that judges in lower courts have to sign. It would establish new rules requiring Supreme Court justices to disclose all expenses paid, travel, or luxury gifts they receive. It would also require the justices to recuse themselves from cases linked to people or organizations that gave them certain kinds of gifts or external income. Seems to make sense. The Associated Press reports the judges would have to submit a written public statement if they decide not to recuse themselves on certain cases. The bill would also create a process for enforcing the new ethics rules and establish panels of lower court judges to review any alleged misconduct. It is unlikely to pass in the full Senate, needing 60 votes to overcome a filibuster.
Well, don't really understand who would be against this. Why don't we ask the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin of Illinois. He's also Judiciary Committee member, Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. You know, Senator Durbin, I'm just a dumb country lawyer.
Here we go.
But it seems to me if ProPublica is showing that Justice Thomas and his wife got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gifts, that Neil Gorsuch was trying to sell a house for 2 years, and then magically a couple of weeks after he becomes a justice, it sells 2 weeks later to a law firm that has business before that committee. And you got Justice Alito going on trips, and not disclosing it. I'm serious here. Who could be against? Who could be against a set of rules just making sure these justices lay out to the American people, the billionaires who are funding them?
Joe, let me tell you something. This bill that Senator Whitehouse has worked on for a long time gets down to the basics. Do the 9 members of the Supreme Court deserve special treatment under the law, treatment not given to any other federal judge or any other member of Congress? I think the American people get this loud and clear, and that's why the opinion of the public on the court and its integrity is at an all-time low. We tried to reach out to the Chief Justice. It's his court. It will go down in history as a Roberts court, and said, take the leadership, solve this problem, restore the integrity of the court. He refused to come before our committee and has declined our invitations to be part of this process. That's why we're moving forward on the Whitehouse bill today.
I don't understand, Senator Whitehouse. How could any Republican be against this, especially when you have reports that the Federalist Society is getting money to Ginny Thomas. Also, again, along with Clarence Thomas, getting these benefits from billionaires. I don't understand what Republican could be against a set of ethics rules for the Supreme Court that apply to all other federal judges.
It's hard to understand because the standards we're trying to set for the Supreme Court are, in fact, the same standards that apply to all other federal judges and the same standards that apply to members of Congress and to senior executive officials. So that should be pretty straightforward. And indeed, on some of this in the past, we've actually had Republican support. I think it's only when the Supreme Court got into deep trouble that the Republican political arm had to rally around it and try to protect it. And frankly, I think it's something of a tell that the Republican Party in the Senate is defending the indefensible. And in some respects, it's actually evidence of how politicized this court is.
So, Senator Durbin, can you simply explain the rules that you all are proposing and why you're proposing them? What events led up to this moment?
Well, what led up to this moment, as Joe has mentioned, was the public disclosure through reporting of these gifts that have been given and procedures that have been taken by the members of the court that are entirely inconsistent with the standards for every other federal judge. I might add, Mika, as an aside here, the federal judges I've spoken to since this issue has become public are not very happy about being lumped in with the Supreme Court justices who are asking for this special treatment. But a code of conduct, a system for complaints against members of the court, a disclosure requirement, a recusal from court cases where there is a conflict of interest. These are the fundamentals that apply to all other federal judges except for the 9 Supreme Court justices.
So, Senator Whitehouse, we hear all the time that Chief Justice Roberts is an institutionalist, that he cares so very deeply about the reputation of the highest court in the land, but yet he's refusing even to discuss this with you guys and your colleagues there in the Senate. How do you explain that? And if he doesn't change course, how damaging do you feel it is to the reputation of himself and his court?
Well, I think in terms of trying to solve this within the Supreme Court, he runs into vociferous objections by Thomas and Alito, and he has to explain to the public why he doesn't move forward anyway. On the other side, he could move forward through the Judicial Conference, which is the administrative body of the judiciary through which he chairs. And I think his recent hint that he knows that there's more that needs to be done signals that the Judicial Conference might be prepared to do more. So I hope he rises to the occasion and either working through his colleagues on the Supreme Court or through his colleagues on the Judicial Conference takes the necessary steps. But we feel it's important to move forward now since none of that has yet happened.
Well, and you know, Senator Durbin, more reporting is going to come out from ProPublica. More reporting is going to come out from other media outlets. There's more there, and it's coming. And the question is, why would the Supreme Court block this when, as we're putting up right now for our viewers, the Supreme Court has its lowest approval rating ever? The American people have less trust in the United States Supreme Court than ever before in its history. So I don't understand. Why won't they step forward and do something about this before it is forced upon them?
Well, there's several ways to interpret it, but I want to just tell you the Supreme Court does not have an army. The authority that they have, the power they have within our democracy is based on the public belief in their integrity and honesty. And that has been called into question by these disclosures about several different justices. I hope that Chief Justice Roberts is moving forward on this. This morning's Wall Street Journal suggested that he tried without success. But the increased publicity, the negative publicity, and the current standing of the court that you just mentioned is proof positive that he cannot wait any longer. That's why we're moving this morning in the Senate Judiciary Committee.
All right, Judiciary Committee Chairman Senator Dick Durbin, committee member Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Thank you both very much for being on this morning. We appreciate it.